Hey everybody, and welcome back to the All Juve Cast channel. And it's been what feels like an eternity, but I think a much-needed break for many Juventini. Focused on the Azzurri during that international break, but it's time to get back to business and back to business with a bang, to say the least. Never, ever a dull moment surrounding Juventus. I say this all the time, and it's more true now more than ever. And I've got Jonathan and Omer joining me today to preview this Derby Della Molle. Guys, how are you guys doing today?
Great, fantastic.
There we go.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to a good game later. We hope.
Yeah, we hope.
Yeah.
We hope. And of course, what's transpired recently here with this alleged party. Okay. McKennie, Arthur, and Dybala at McKennie's house. And his McKennie's neighbor, who claims to be a Juventus fan, has reported him. And the stories just keeps going on and on and on. And, you know, all of a sudden you get Oriana, Dybala's girlfriend, saying it was a dinner that they do every week. But if it's just a dinner, why did the police why were they not allowed in for up to an hour? You know what I mean? Like, there's just so much coming out to it. And then it was reported that there was another 3 players that were potentially there that managed to get out of there before the cops got there. It's just a gong show. This is an absolute gong show. Regardless, the club has chosen to suspend those 3 players for this match. They've received fines, I believe, of €300,000. We go into this Derby Della Molle without those guys. And this has been an interesting scenario. And you've got fans on both sides. Fans saying, well, just fine them. They don't need to be suspended, especially in a game this magnitude, the Derby. We need the points. And for me, I'm just going to be flat out what I said at the get-go. No, I believe, if there was rules that were broken, they need to be suspended. I don't think when you're making these decisions, you can factor in where you are in the standings. And I think that if it's just financial, it doesn't have the same effect. Ultimately, if they made this decision and broke rules, the club feels, like they should be fining them, then I think a suspension is in order. It sucks. It's stupid, but it's a selfish move by them breaking rules that affect the club and their teammates. So the severity should be there. I think a 1-game suspension is fine. How do you guys feel like since this? It feels like it's always one thing after another lately with this club, and this is just it's a stupid thing to have happen at this point of the season when you're really fighting to go ahead and stay in top 4, really. But what are you guys' thoughts on this whole series of events here?
Well, I gotta say, I kind of feel like Juventus are doing everything they can to make that Amazon Prime or Nothing series as interesting as possible, because the stories are ludicrous. I mean, I don't remember a season that weird with all those incidents going against Juve, but not because of Juve's fault. I don't know. It's just weird. Players losing their shit and I don't know, getting fined by the club. Maybe it was just quieter like a few years ago, and these things happened inside the club, and now it's going out everywhere, and that might be the problem. I don't remember Juve having this many problems in one season with so many players.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's just that feeling that we've lost ourselves, and it's just like, again, like I think there's a bigger overall discussion that dates back several years in Juve losing that identity where guys come in and they fall in line, and you have those leaders that hold those guys to this standard, and these guys that should know what it means to play for this club. And it's almost like that feeling's gone away. But I don't even think this is a Juve thing. It is, but it's also just bigger in football that these guys are now their own brands, and they're doing so much on their own. And I feel like it's harder to find those players that are going to come in and be there for the cause. But it's a tough thing. I'm most disappointed out of those three in a guy like Dybala, because I had to say I was wrong in thinking, because leaders shouldn't do that. They shouldn't put themselves in that position, and they shouldn't. He should have known better for sure. And this guy, with the season, everything that's unfolded for him, about to be back on the lineup sheet, potentially get some minutes, and then this hits. Incredibly frustrating. So I was probably mostly disappointed in him. But Jonathan, your thoughts on this series of events here?
I just find it unbelievable that, the last result at home to Benevento, the international break, Pirlo under pressure, the whole talk about, he's a game potentially away from being sacked. And I don't know on what planet these players think they're living. This last week, for example, I don't know how much you hear of this over in Canada. In Italy, 500 people have been dying of this every day. There are over 20,000 cases every day. I just don't understand on what planet they think this is acceptable, let alone not letting the police in. These guys are role models for thousands and thousands of people, and they should be showing a bit more responsibility. And also, not just that, but letting the manager down when he's feeling the heat. This is the last thing he needs to make the stand and rule these players out of this big game today. I honestly just think they've let him down, especially. And I guess what they were thinking potentially, only way I think they thought they could get away with this was to say that McKennie and Dybala have had COVID, but that's no excuse. There's 9 people at this dinner apparently. It's just staggering that in the season Juventus are having, the up and down nature of it, that they think that they could get away with this because they are high profile figures, and there's people desperate to sort of, in the city like Turin, there's people desperate to sort of unsettle Juve, and I just don't understand what they were thinking.
Yeah. And, of course you have some that are saying, well, if they've done this dinner and they're talking about, the bubbles and this is the same group or whatnot. Look, the bottom line is if the clubs decided to punish them, they have broken certain rules. They're not going to punish them if they haven't broken rules. That's the bottom line. So somewhere along the lines, they broke rules. The reports coming out, carrying forward, saying that they're in jeopardy of Napoli, like these players and whatnot. I think that's going to happen. It's going to be a one-game thing, which is fine. But again, those fans that are trying to say, well, no, you shouldn't have lost them regardless. I disagree. You can't let standings dictate what you're going to do with these guys and these punishments. It needs to be severe so that it sets the example for everybody else following. But we got everybody make the same comment. Omer was saying that maybe it's just for this all or nothing documentary. And, for me, it's like funny. You got people saying, oh, I want to watch this thing. I got to see what's going on, what's happening. I'm almost afraid to watch it. Almost afraid to watch it to see what a shit show is going on there. But I think that's enough. Whether the media blew it out of proportion or not, Georg coming in saying that sure we should fine them heavily for what happened. Media blew it out of proportion. They're from the same social bubble, having dinner, spending them, etc., is harming our top 4 chances. Again, the players have done something against the rules. Bottom line, whether we're harming ourselves or whatnot, that shows what they've done to their teammates. You have to make decisions like that as a whole. Like it affects everybody. It's literally a team. They're all part of this. They have to, and this is the thing that frustrates me about our leaders. Our leaders that need to pull guys in line and whatnot. And I said there's a bigger discussion that dates further back to where we started to lose ourselves and whatnot. But yeah, it's frustrating times. Some other news that came in that had mixed reviews for Juventini was the rumor of Marcello Lippi coming back as a technical director. This was interesting to see fans' thoughts on that. And everyone joining us live, for sure, I want to see in the comments here your guys' thoughts on Marcello Lippi coming back. And my God, Luca joining us. I know it was his
Good
birthday.
morning, Luca.
Happy birthday there, Luca. Apparently, the beverages didn't prevent you from making the show here at this early hour. So that's fantastic, man. Absolutely fantastic to have Luca in there. Happy birthday again. Guys, Marcello Lippi returning as a technical director. Thoughts? Who wants to kick us off on Marcello Lippi's possible return to Juve? Jonathan?
Yeah. Obviously, I know a lot about his past. I will mention the book because I have to.
Absolutely.
Golazzo, the football Italia he is. But seriously, I think potentially this means the club are thinking of keeping Pirlo on. Pirlo needs help, and who better than someone who's done it with Juventus multiple times over? They wouldn't think about getting Lippi in if they had some big name lined up. So I think they're looking at the future thinking, we don't want to sack Pirlo. Juventus don't have a reputation for dumping managers like other clubs. They don't do it. The Agnellis do not do it going back years. So I think this is all about helping Pirlo. I think it's a good move because he knows Lippi will still know the club inside out, and he was the architect of Juve's renaissance in the 90s and the noughties. He brought the club back from nowhere, challenging, to winning multiple titles, winning in Europe. And I think having someone like that, even though a lot of time has passed since then, can only be of benefit to someone like Pirlo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Omer, your thoughts on Lippi?
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I love Lippi. I think he could just, walking around the halls, he'll be helpful for the team. But I feel like the management kind of needs a responsible adult walking around there because they're young and they keep getting younger and younger. I feel like Beppe Marotta was maybe the adult voice back in the management room who kept them in line with crazy ideas like buying Ronaldo, for example. And things kind of went off when he left. And I think they need someone with character back there who knows how to recognize what is a certain good deal, which player is developing, which player is not good enough and should be sold. And all of them combined don't have that much experience in this particular area like him. So I really hope it does happen. They just need this type of personality in the locker room for now.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree. I mean, the comments that were being made by those that were opposing Lippi coming in potentially were those of him being, so far removed from the game and too old, and the game's changed and everything like that. But again, I think you look at it as a collective. Because I think there's something to be said about when Marotta left and where the board was left and how they were making decisions. And I think you had a kind of a collective that complemented one another, and Lippi coming in would kind of do the same. Just like Jonathan was speaking to with Pirlo. I don't think the club's going to move away from Pirlo, to be honest. I know that this top 4 thing is kind of everybody's threshold for whether he stays or goes or what happens. But the thing is honestly, the reports coming out now that they potentially face being 200 million euro in the hole, and need to get 100 million plus Valenza swing by the end of June. Bringing in another coach, a high-profile coach, is going to be a lot of money that I don't think they're willing to put in just yet. They weren't after they brought in Sarri, and this is part of the reason we see a guy like Pirlo. But if you get a guy like Lippi, even if he is considered a dinosaur for those, the experience is massive. So you put him together with a guy like Pirlo, who's got, new ideas, modern ideas, but you've got a guy that knows how to accomplish what you want to get on the pitch. And that's the biggest thing. Not only that, but Lippi helps not only Pirlo, but he helps the board. And maybe we get back to signing these guys and starting to sign the man. You know what I mean? Because ultimately that's where Juve's getting away. And then you have these situations that kind of happen. And I know that we've had issues with certain players in the past or whatnot, but Juve made their decisions. There was always the talks about Vidal, and Vidal had a lifestyle. He was known to have cops showing up at his place, whatever, and the parties and the drinking and stuff like that, and ultimately Juve ended up moving him, and they said, this was a discussion I was having with a fellow Juventino last night, and he's saying, well, what good did it do? All Vidal's teams beat us. I said, that's not a moral high ground issue. Because Juve decided they were fine going another route. That's just up to them not replacing the talent that they had lost. It has nothing to do with taking this moral high ground and losing this. And then you get, like this is a perfect example. Tony coming in saying, if we don't get 3 points today, the club can stick their rules up their ass. We're in a situation where we need all players. They're human too, regardless they're high profile. They're human. But again, this is a situation where they've put their team in this situation. Okay. And I can't stress that enough. Like, you can say they're human. Absolutely. They're human, but what does that mean? Because they're human, they don't need to follow the rules. There needs to be no repercussions because we're chasing top 4. I can't agree with that. I can't agree with that. And if we lose the 3 points, what does that say for all the other guys that are on the pitch? They got to find a way and get the job done. If Juve is that worried because of 3 players to beat a team that's fighting to not get relegated, we have much larger issues than choosing to suspend 3 players for breaking rules during a global pandemic. That's about as easy as I can put it. I don't know if my guests agree or disagree, but that's about as easy as I can put that situation. Lippi helps all of this, in my opinion, to be honest. But Jonathan, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think it looks a lot worse on the club if they don't suspend them because they got a game with Torino. It's about the bigger picture. It's not about they made a mistake. This isn't just a mistake. They've gone against, they flouted all the rules, that the rules are in place so this virus does not spread more than it needs to, and this whole thing, they're in the same bubble. Well, they're not, because Dybala, I don't know what his situation, I'm sure he's got a girlfriend or whatever, but that the bubble is not contained from the club. These players mix in their own different circles at home. So this is not the bubble. And you can't just say that we should just fine them, because the club needs to take a serious stand on this. They have to show leadership, and it doesn't matter who your next game is against. It doesn't matter where you are in the standings. The club had to come out and make a statement of this. This is not acceptable, and just happens to be the derby next. It just happens to be the game Dybala was going to come back in, but there is a bigger picture here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Milan has just drawn with Sampdoria after Sampdoria was down to 10 men in the 59th minute.
I saw the Quagliarella goal. You should watch it.
So Juventus 5 points behind Milan, 2 games in hand as it stands. Yeah, guys. I mean, Lippi getting involved for me makes sense on multiple levels. So this is one of those things, again, just fans are so split right now. And part of the problem is trying to figure out where Juve stands and trying to make sense of it. And even through transfer rumors and whatnot, trying to make sense of everything, Marchisio, club legend, speaking his thoughts in a pretty in-depth interview, actually, just the other day. And it's interesting to hear all these things that many of us fans could see, have been saying for a while, but he came out and said this whole thing, the decline began under Allegri. And I agree. You could see it. You could see it unfolding. And then his thoughts are you keep Pirlo, in his personal opinion. Allegri, when Allegri was interviewed, also spoke to all things considered, saying Pirlo honestly has done quite well, considering everything he's had to deal with. This is an interesting thing, but this 200 million euro in the whole deficit and trying to get 100 million plus Valenza starts to give you an idea that we're probably going to be looking at a high profile swap again, kind of like that Pjanic Artur deal. I can't help but feel Dybala is going to be the one. And maybe, just maybe, it is going to be Dybala in a swing move. We know that Pogba thing is something that Juve's tried for a while now. But they're going to have to get creative and do something. But ultimately, it's in the players' hands. It'll be interesting to see if this little scenario kind of leads or guides into that next move. And if maybe it kind of, for lack of a better term, sealed his fate almost, so to speak. But that's a lot of money to try and swing. And I can't help but feel that during these times, Juve's going to go into the next season with gaps again. I think this thought process of Juve being able to clean this up, I've been saying it for a while, but like COVID, it's had a massive impact, and there's going to be makeshift positions here and there, and it's going to be way too hard to clean up completely, I think. But did this thing kind of seal Dybala's fate? Omer, how you feeling about this as these numbers kind of get unfolded to us this morning?
Well, look, you will still have some assets going around the league, which they will use probably. I know Mattia Perin is still a Juve player, and Rovella maybe, and Luca Pellegrini, and I don't know, this might amount to 30 million, and then I see a high profile swap happening. Probably Dybala, feels like it's going to be Dybala, and maybe Sandro. I don't know. Juve still have players they could sell for a decent amount of money and not make this 100 million loss, more painful than it is. So I don't know. They have financial advisors helping them. I'm pretty sure they'll find a way to get around it. But I wouldn't be surprised if you were signed 2-3 players max this summer, and mostly selling players.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tough one. The other thing is too, it's not like Juve is the only one going through this. All the other clubs are going through it. So who's buying? If you're selling, that's fine, but who's buying? So even if you say you got guys of value, well, then you start looking at their markets. right? Rabiot and Ramsey were two guys that have been, their names have been swirling around all these transfer rumors for a while, like saying these are the guys that are going to look to move. Obviously, they came in on freebies. So, yeah, moving that makes sense because it's straight to that hole that you're trying to recover. I do think they have a market. Both those, Rabiot especially. Ramsey will have a little bit less of a market, but he'll have a market. I think if they make those moves, it could make a big difference on the swing of that number and everything else that they need to do afterwards. But man, crazy times thinking about all this and all these rumors. Milik coming out, 12 million euro. I guess Juve's thinking about that. And I was talking to Mirko Di Natale, and he confirmed. He said, look, the Aguero thing, he said there's never been anything concrete from Juve or their camp, but he did say Milik has been steady, and we ran into that last summer mercado, so it's still the same with Milik. But we'll see what happens. We'll see. Time will tell. The Ronaldo thing, keeping Ronaldo, I still say it's always been in his hands. You know what I mean? It's Ronaldo's decision. Jonathan, do you agree?
Yeah, I was just going to go back to what you were saying before. The player it sounds like could be joining the club this summer is Locatelli from Sassuolo.
Yeah.
Definitely a player they're after, and it sounds like that deal is pretty much done. I sort of feel the club's going the wrong way about it. I think the smart thing would do would be to offload Ronaldo, keep Dybala, because Dybala, is your future, whereas Ronaldo, how long has he got? And his wages are astronomical, and that is one way you resolve this issue. But Dybala seemingly is on his way out, seemingly being forced on his way out. I get the impression from Dybala that he doesn't want to leave, but it's almost like he's being pushed out of the club, which I think is a huge mistake, because I think he's a match winner on his day. Ronaldo, yes, he is, but is he the long-term answer? He's got 1 year left on his contract. I would seriously think that, if Real Madrid came in, and there's talk of Real Madrid coming in, I think that would be the way to go from my perspective, because I think Dybala is one you'd want more long-term.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a tough one. When we came out with our unsellable list, whatever, just Juventini, we're discussing unsellables. I said it's one or the other for me. It's one of Dybala or one of Ronaldo. And everything else you have to entertain. In terms of Cuadrado, Bernardeschi, same thing. I say it's one or the other because I see them both as utility guys. You have to have utility guys. The argument could be made for both those guys, but outside of that, really, untouchables, De Ligt, Demiral for me, in the middle of the park, like Arthur. Outside of that, honestly, I could see him moving anybody. Maybe McKennie I'd keep. And then Chiesa, Kulusevski. And outside of that, really, you could take offers on anybody else. And even Demiral, I mean, shit, if the money was big enough, you'd have to think about it. And that's kind of the times we're at right now. But we got to factor in some things. Chiellini's most likely retiring. And that seems to be the main thing going around. Man, what a shame for a guy like that if he were to leave and call it with nobody around. I was thinking about this the other day, and yeah. That's a sad reality is that, we have no fans in there, and it would just be an absolute shame to see him call it in a season where he can't even get a proper send-off. That would be a shame for a guy like Chiellini. Rumors were Chiellini and Buffon would not have their contracts extended for one more year, and they're free to do what they want to do. And then you have fans again, mixed side of that, just a lot of them saying it's over with those guys, just get rid of them. But for me, Buffon could still stick around as a backup if he wanted to. I mean, he's done fine when he's called upon, and he's not hurting anybody by any means. He doesn't have any crazy wage or anything like that, so it's like I don't see a problem with it. The Chiellini one becomes an issue because he just can't stay fit, you know? So you do start to wonder, you know, like we're using a roster spot and you can have somebody that's actually fit and can be relied upon, right? On his day, I agree with Marquisio in his interview. On his day, when he's fit and he's playing, he's still massive, in my opinion, you know? But comes down to reliability. So it'd be interesting to see how all this happens here. AJ coming in saying it's crazy how a year ago Dybala was unsellable and Danilo was sellable. Now it's the other way around. I think the Dybala thing, you guys want to talk about media and whatnot and this whole party, okay? This whole party and media blowing out of proportion. The media kind of flipped things for Dybala, in my opinion. He's had an insane run of bad luck here, but it is what it is. I mean, to go through an entire season not being fit, able to play is incredibly frustrating. That's just incredibly frustrating. But at the start, all those rumors about this 15 million, and then of course it's been countless reports saying that it's never been the case. Whatever, it's just that the offer he has in front of him, he didn't agree to, which is just shy of what the Lick's making. And honestly, the media just kind of turned things around for him, but he's had some bad luck. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with the ball. As far as Danilo goes, credit has to be given to Danilo. But yeah, in his first year, he was playing as either left back or right back, and it was anything but pretty. Let's put it that way. But this year, he's become massive, and that kind of brings us to our lineup for the Derby Della Molle here. We saw the projections. We saw the guys that were going to be suspended. Dybala making his way back into the lineup or whatnot, but he won't be in there. McKennie won't be in there. But it was all kind of sitting around how Danilo would be used. Okay. And it was going to be either at the back or in the middle of the park. And we've seen him twice now in the middle of the park against Lazio. And then I believe the other was it against Cagliari when he stepped in there into the middle? I can't recall if it was Cagliari or not, but we've seen him in there.
Yeah. When we blamed him for that Simeone goal. He didn't track back. We said he was new to this position. Yeah, it was the Cagliari match.
Yeah, there you go. So we got him in there, and it looks like all things are pointing to him in the middle of the park again. There is possibility that Pinsoglio will be in goal. They were waiting. Buffon will be out for this one. Buffon's another guy that's out. Szczesny, they were waiting a COVID test or whatnot, but there is a slight possibility Pinsoglio gets a start. You're going to have Quadrado, De Ligt, and Chiellini, or De Ligt, Chiellini, and Sandro in what's going to shape up to be more of a 3-5-2 because Danilo should be in the middle. Ramsey, Bentancur, and Rabiot, Chiesa, Morata, and Ronaldo kind of round it all out. Again, strong enough for sure to take on Torino, but this is a big match. Will all this shit essentially surrounding Juventus, does it help them? Does it hurt them or whatnot? I think ultimately it's I don't think it should matter. These guys are professionals. They got to pull it together. And again, I said it's going to be next man up. And that's the mentality this team should have. A team that's big like Juventus should be next man up. You shouldn't have to fear a couple guys being out or whatnot when you're facing a team that's battling for relegation. Your guys' thoughts on that potential projected lineup and how you think this game could go or whatnot, and just the derby as a whole. Who wants to kick us off on this one? Omer?
Yeah, I'll start. The derby is never an easy match. I never feel truly comfortable with it. Even now, with Torino are about to be relegated, still they play differently when they're playing the derby. So it's never easy, but the lineup is kind of encouraging, I suppose, considering all the absentees and I think I know the media is just a bit, everyone is hopping on that things are bad at Juve train, and just everything becomes a bigger deal than it is right now. So I don't. It doesn't look like mentally we're up for this type of game, but if we do win it, it could be a nice turnaround, and fans' opinion switch now from game to game. So a win today is super important, but it feels like a draw. I don't know.
Feels like a draw. Ooh. Hopefully not. Yeah. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
So the derby, 178 matches, 88 wins for Juventus, 44 for Torino, 46 ending in draw. I'm going to ask everybody joining on the live, see if you can name the all-time leading goal scorer in the history of the Derby Della Molle. But Jonathan, let's get some stories about the Derby. Let's get you to preview this thing.
Yeah. Derby Della Molle is obviously named after La Mole and Tonelliana, the symbol of Turin, the huge building that steeps over the entire city. It's sort of a game that, in a way, it's like Fiorentina when they play Juventus. But this being a local derby, for Torino, it's a much bigger match. For Juventus, the rivalry's more with AC and Inter Milan. But this game is always a hard game. Torino are traditionally the poorer relations of the city. They don't have the affluence and the grandeur of the Agnelli family. It's always a difficult game because Torino are such a hard-working team, no matter where they are in the standings. But you look at the stats, and Torino one derby win in 25 years. Torino one win at home all season. You cannot believe that Juventus aren't going to win this game because of the players they've got. But it's a derby, and they say form goes out the window in a derby. But I think one of two things could happen in this game. I think either it's going to be a sort of nervy, uninspired performance, which might be a draw, might be a 1-0 or a 2-1, or I think Juventus will come out and put a real statement out today, shackles being off, and just score 3 or 4. But it's very hard to call because you just never know in this kind of game.
Yeah. And that's the thing is with the derbies, it's going to come down. A lot of it is just determination, grit, heart. Like it goes out the window. You got to win your battles. Ultimately, it's going to be the guys lined up across from them and just getting the job done. It's going to be a tough one. What worries me is that for years now, Juve has struggled in the matches prior and following international breaks. And we'll see what ends up happening with this one. But they have just been struggling in those matches for whatever reason. Who knows? But they do. They just tend to struggle. This team, though, this Torino team, I mean, we ultimately we absolutely have to get the 3 points in this one. It can't be any other way. The guys should be rallying together after the mess that's unfolded and get the job done. We've got a comment coming in here, a question coming in, Michael, about what do you think about Kulu's comments stating the reason he's struggling with Juve is because every game he plays different positions. It's something that we've talked about for Kulusevski for a while. He's usually been one of the topics that you discuss post-match, and that's just because, again, a newcomer, a young, promising talent, but he's been the one that's kind of struggled to find his ways. But again, I've said it for a while, he hasn't been a second striker before when he's come to us, right? And we've kind of needed him. We've needed him and relied on him a little bit more than I think the club wanted to, Pirlo wanted to, and probably Kulusevski even himself expected. He came to us in a 4-3-3 system where he would play out of the middle or off the right wing. And for a majority of his time with us, he's been swapped all over. It started from right outside mid to left outside mid, which wasn't really working. He had a brief showing in that Ramsey role, and he looked good. I thought it could be a good change-up between Ramsey and Kulusevski out of that position, but we didn't go back to it. We never went back to it, which was odd. I found that very, very odd. And then we went into this second striker thing to assist. Of course, Morata was having injury issues and whatnot, and there's just no depth, and Dybala hasn't been available. So he ended up playing as this second striker role like he did in his first match of the season, and he even bagged a goal and looked pretty good. But I think relying on him wasn't something anybody expected, and it's been tough. But I don't know. I think for him, it's going to be hard because if you look at the other players in those other positions too, like Chiesa's a lock on one of those sides, and he's way ahead of Kulusevski in terms of what they're offering. So he can't really take a spot from there. Quadrado will occupy one of the other sides as he's been massive in terms of assists. And up top, if Morata's healthy, he's our one true 9. And CR is not going anywhere, right? So it's kind of just a matter of Kulusevski's got to kind of just deal with it right now, really. Because he also hasn't really excelled in any of those spots. But I think his best so far has been just coming in as a sub. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think people tend to forget how young these guys are. Like, he's a 20-year-old. He's adapting from a mediocre team to a team that plays in 3 fronts every year. And like you said, I don't think he even imagined he'd play so much, like more of a rotational player, which is good for a 20-year-old. But I don't know. It's weird with him. Like, I haven't seen him perform up to his Parma standards in any of the positions he played in.
Yeah.
And I've been shouting for a long time for Juve to play the 4-3-3, and I think it's better for him, for Chiesa, for most of our players. But until we do it, then I think we're going to keep drifting around the forward line and just not finding his place.
Yeah. Jonathan, do you see that comment as a slight jab at Pirlo?
Yeah, I think with Kulusevski, I think it's hard coming into a Juventus side that has been so hot and cold this season. If he'd come in 3 years ago, maybe under that Allegri side that was so dominant, then maybe it would have been easier for him. But he's coming to a side. I mean, he came on against Porto when Juventus needed a goal to go through, and it's like he comes on and people expect him to have an immediate impact as he's a sub, and it's hard. He's coming into a side that's not struggling, but really not consistent as they have been in the past. And people are coming on and expecting him to just perform miracles when it's his first season. He doesn't have the experience. And I think he just needs time. And I think he needs a run in the side. But I think this year is going to be a bit of a disappointing year and not the season we all hoped. But hopefully next season he'll get more of a run and the team will get a better foundation to the season. And then I think we'll see better things from him.
Yeah, that's just it. And I mean, going back to Danilo, who's become one of those reliable guys this season, his first season with us was shocking. So, I've always said second year, you'll see a little bit more. In terms of this match, Eric coming in saying, we just got shit kicked by a team whose mascot is an ugly lady riding a broomstick. I refuse to overlook a crosstown rival. And definitely not overlooking them. But in terms of the players available, the lineup that's out there, Juve's got more than enough to get the job done here. In terms of the question, leading goal scorer, yes, Raf nailed it. Bonaparte. Dragan nailed it with Bonaparte. 14 goals for Giampiero Bonaparte in this. I know that Jonathan beforehand had guessed Vialli, who's in there, with 7. Top 5 all-time goal scorers in this fixture. One of the guys, obviously, as we've spoken about this club, Torino, struggling, obviously, battling to just stay in or whatnot, but could leave the door open for a guy like Belotti. And, a lot of fans making claims that he would be a solid addition for a team like Juventus. Of course, the latest rumors show that Juve is going to be looking at ways to try and get Moise Kean. Moise Kean has been high on the priority list for them, which is so frustrating considering we had the kid. It's incredible. And that to me is just frustration on our boards and whatnot. But what do you guys think in terms of Belotti? I know that a lot of fans have frustrations with him when he goes on international duty with the Azzurri. Same with Immobile. They seem to be those guys that can get it done for club and struggle with the Azzurri front. But Belotti, if that team does get relegated, should Juve look at that move? What do you think, Omer?
Definitely, I like Belotti. I think without him, Torino are probably last place in the league. The fact that he might still keep them in proves that he's a leader and he's a player that plays for a team that's below his standards. Unlike, for example, Tonali, that with all the talks Brescia did get relegated, didn't help them to that final hurdle of the season. And if they do get relegated, I still think he's been their main player for 3 years now, and it's because of him they haven't been relegated yet. They had a string of bad coaches and bad teams. So I'll definitely take him. He's experienced in the league. He's still fairly young. He's not, I don't know, he's 24, maybe 25. Should be at his peak right now. And he doesn't have to move cities even. Bonucci's son will be pretty pleased. If I remember correctly, he's one of his biggest fans.
Massive Belotti fan. Jonathan, your thoughts on Belotti?
I think it's the last possible transfer Torino would want to do. There's no way they'd want to sell their star striker to Juventus. So on that basis, I think it'll be hard to do the deal. I don't think it's one Juventus will probably be looking at, because I don't think that he, whether he's big enough name for Juventus, whatever, he does score goals. But I don't, whatever the situation, I just do not see Torino selling him to Juventus, because I think there's going to be a lot of big clubs in for him, and I just don't see how that transfer would happen.
Yeah, Yeah, it would be a tough one. Vishwajit coming in saying, Brew 27. He is 27. I don't know why we think that
Okay,
is
so that is prime.
yeah, like why are we
It's
afraid
not.
of 27 years old? That's not concerning to me, Vishwajit. Honestly, 27, he's got plenty of years still under him. But Kane, like I said, Kane was a frustrating one for me, losing that. And the thing is, too, is what ends up happening at the top, because we talked about earlier Dybala's future in question. CR's really in question because it's up to him. You can't lose both because you open up too many gaps that you would have to fill, right? So you definitely can't do that. Georg coming in saying if Dybala leaves, Juve might need two more. Kane is a plus because of the lists, him being homegrown. Absolutely. So it's tough. AJ saying extend Dybala who's 27 for 10 years, but don't buy Belotti because he's too old. Number one, nobody's extending anybody for 10 years. That's definitely not the play. And Belotti, at 27 years old, I would not be concerned. It's going to be interesting to see this particular Mercado. Jonathan mentioned earlier, of course, Locatelli seems to be the one. It looks like we're going to be including Frabotta, possibly Fagioli as well. The latter being the one that everybody wants to see, hopefully still have some kind of tie to Juventus, like perhaps a loan. So you maybe spice up the offer and offer both, but Fagioli being one that's on loan. One way or another, Locatelli will help, but again, there's a lot of people feeling different ways about what Juve needs. And I saw the comment earlier when Pogba was in the discussion, and they were saying that Pogba will not solve things. Of course, he will not solve everything on his own. No player will. CR7 is a prime example of that. It's not going to be a one-man show and it just doesn't work. It's the collective. And we have to get it together from the top all the way down. Absolutely have to sort it out from the top. It starts with the board. The teams really gotta lay out this vision and this plan because it looks too scattered, and it has since Allegri left. You guys agree with that?
Yeah, I gotta say, on the Locatelli thing, I really want Locatelli. I hope he'll end up at Juve, but it looks like they're going to sign him very soon, to avoid competition with Man City and other big powerhouses. And if there's anything we learned from the past, and especially the past few seasons, that you need to sell before you buy. And Juve jumping into another 40 million deal before they're selling anyone. We've seen it last season. We weren't able to get rid of Khedira and Matuidi and Higuain, and kind of got stuck with them, and you have to give up other players because they don't want to leave. And you still have the Shilio coming back, and Rugani and Douglas Costa, and looks like you were trying to buy too early. Like Luciano Muggi always knew you need to sell before you buy. And he kept saying he sold Zidane, then he bought 3 players. But if he would have bought these 3 players and Zidane didn't want to leave, then a big problem with a big budget. So you were not going that path right now, and it may be problematic come the summer.
Yeah, Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just don't want to get beaten to this one. I think Locatelli comes with a great reputation for what he's done at Sassuolo. And I think they're thinking we got to get him because they might miss out, and that it's the fear of missing out. I think they need.
Yeah, definitely.
The midfield is the problem. We all know the midfield is the problem, and they're looking to fix that. And I guess their thinking is we'll get Locatelli in, and then we'll assess. Well, there'll be no shortage of takers for Dybala if that's the option, the avenue they're going down. So I think they just want to get him in, and I think that transfer seems like it's pretty close to happening. this summer.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, a lot of people feeling mixed feelings too, and even Vistrajit saying, "I just wish that with the hype of Locatelli to Juve, that it doesn't bite us." And that's the thing. I personally, I've always said, like, you just, again, getting back into team building, getting back into, like, the possibility of a guy like Lippi being a technical director. I've always seen a midfield in needing certain abilities and traits and being a unit, a combination, not just one guy in there that you're relying upon. The same as a team as a whole, you need all the roles to be filled. And if you look at Locatelli and his traits and abilities, he's ahead of almost all the guys we have in there.
Yeah.
At the midfield. Like, it's not even a question. He had a struggle. He struggled in the one match for the Azzurri during the break, but still in a struggling match, he showed you what he could bring. And then in the follow-up to it, he had a much, much better outing, but he's pretty solid for the most part defensively. Definitely won't shy off from doing the dirty work. He's got great vision though in passing, great range in passing, and he plays with a good tempo. And he's always looking to advance, right? He's good. He's got tools we could definitely use, And again, we would still, even if you bring Locatelli in my opinion, need someone that needs to drive from the midfield. That needs to be a driving attack player out of the midfield. And that's when you start getting into the Aouars, DePaul. Even a guy like Pogba could do it, but it's not really his style. He's kind of altered a bit, but he could do it. That's why I say, Locatelli would be in the heart, and then a couple guys ahead of him on either side.
But that's the question.
A very, very good base to work off of. But Omer brings up a good point. You have to sell before you buy. We've got guys coming back. Dragan being very good at reminding us, of course, Costa, Rugani, Di Scilio. Like, we've got to get the job done in terms of that. I think one of Ramsey or Rabiot needs to be moved. If I had to choose, I would move Ramsey way before Rabiot. Do you guys agree with that?
Ramsey before Rabiot, yeah.
Yeah. So Ramsey would have to move before Rabiot for sure. I found it odd that some of the rumors were that Juve would be looking to move both of them. For me, that would strictly be just because, again, of that number being so big, that magic number that they need to hit in terms of plus Valenza. That would be the only way. But Rabiot definitely offers more, somewhat more consistently than Ramsey as well. So it's interesting. Sandro, sadly, needs to move soon from Vistrajit. So in terms of Sandro, I actually called for the move a while ago. There was big offers coming in for him several years ago. And this is another one of those things when we talk about the club as a whole, and sometimes I feel like they just hold on to things a little too long. But Sandro really gave us one amazing season. He didn't really hit that high again. There was a bit of a decline, and he still held good value. We just never pulled the trigger on moving him. He had a tremendous value. I think he still holds value, but you could see in his game, he's starting to make that switch now to a center back. He does not have the juice to bomb up and down on the flank anymore, in my opinion. The question becomes, if Chiellini retires, do you keep Sandro, especially if Pirlo is, let's assume Pirlo is remaining as the coach, do you keep him to play out of that center back, or do you move him if you have the opportunity? I still think he would have suitors and we wouldn't have an issue moving him. What do you guys think?
Like we've said before, a lot of people say it's better to sell a year too early than a year too late. And we kind of missed the train with Sandro, but I believe he's still in a time frame where we has other suitors, and we still, like, if we wait another year, next year he might be worth 10 million. And he's 30, he's not going to be any better than he is right now, and he's just not good enough. So why keep him?
Yeah. Jonathan, do you agree?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a case if someone comes in for him, they'll get rid of him. But I don't know. I mean, I think it's definitely a season too far, and I think he probably will go. I'm sure there'll be plenty of interest all around Europe. So I think that transfer could well happen this summer.
Yeah. And let's get to some predictions. So everybody that's joining us on the live, first of all, thank you. And for those of you celebrating Buona Pasqua, Happy Easter. But let's get your predictions in for this Derby Della Molle. Quick little stat attack, okay? Juve will be looking to avoid back-to-back defeats in Serie A for the first time under Pirlo. Ronaldo's 3 goals against Torino, but is yet to score from open play at the Stadio Olimpico Grande, Torino. So we'll see that. And overall, Juventus unbeaten in their last 11 against Torino in Serie A, 9 wins and 2 draws. 19 successive league games in which Juve have found the net against Torino. So before we give our predictions, let's talk about some of our favorite moments in the Derby Della Molle. So let's kick it off with Omer, your favorite moment in the Derby. Then we're going to get Jonathan's, and then I'll speak to one.
Specific 4 come to mind. Players usually tend to score their first goal for Juve against Torino, and it's a match winner usually. Quadrado did it. De Ligt did it last year. I don't know. The one with Pirlo, I think, stands out the most. The long shot on the 93rd minute is just iconic. The celebration, Allegri going down the tunnel, doesn't even stick around. I don't know. This whole moment was a declaration of how good Juventus are.
Yeah, that's the Pirlo one was just massive. The celebration too, it was incredible, absolutely incredible. Jonathan,
you'll be surprised here. I'm going to turn the clock back now. Under when Lippi was coach of Juventus the first time, and I'm going to say, I think it was December 1995. They beat Torino 5-0. Gianluca Vialli scored a first half hat trick, the third of which was just an incredible strike. So I'm going to say the 5-0 from 95, but also one other one that sticks in memory was actually when Juventus, before the stadium was rebuilt, played at the same stadium as Torino for a few years. And there was a game on a Sunday night, which was a dreadful game. I mean, it was 0-0 till deep. And I think in the 89th, 90th minute, David Trezeguet scored with a volley. You can imagine the scenes after that. So that was another great memory of this game. It's a great goal in the last minute. So probably those two stick in the memory for me.
Yeah. There's been so many with Torino. Like I remember back, was it Higuain's first season with us? Second one? He scored a nice one, and Joe Hart was the keeper at the time. And Higuain takes this high pass lob. He spins, turns, and he just rifles this thing through the defender's legs. And Joe Hart's late on the die, but that was a big one. The celebration made it that much better. I remember Trezeguet during some banter years for Juve, but he had one where he was a ways offside, and he hustled his ass to get back in, and he literally turned as this ball's coming over his shoulder, and he just flashed at it. And it looked like the most awkward thing. It was such a Trezeguet goal because it looked like the most awkward thing you'd ever see. And he just flashes at this thing, and he just picks off the side of the goal perfectly. And again, the celebration, the victory, that was a big, big one that stuck with me. We had Vidal score one that he was outside the area. This goal sticks with me too because it would just seem like out of nowhere, like you were ready to give Vidal shit for why is he shooting that maybe 25, 26 yards out. The ball's kind of bouncing, and he just turns and slashes at it, and it's low. It doesn't look like it's much danger, and it just a one hopper right in the net. And again, the celebration was absolutely epic in that one. Straight to the bench. The Juve squad just piling up on Vidal there. That was a big one too. But so many awesome memories.
Can I just interject? Sorry, I've just remembered a couple of very, very iconic Turin derbies, both in the 2001-2002 season, the famous Cinque Maggio season, and it was I've lost him. We're on our own now.
Yeah. Yeah. In the podcast.
Oh, yeah. So I was going to tell you about these two games. The first game, Juventus with Del Piero and Trezeguet up front. It's 3-0 up at half time. And Torino scored 3 times in the second half. And then Juventus got a last-minute penalty, which Marcelo Salas blazed over the bar. That was an unbelievably dramatic. And then later that season, the sides met again, and it was quite late-ish in the season, and Juventus scored early. The second half, Torino came flying out, went 2-1 up, and then in the last minute, Enzo Maresca scored, and after he scored, it was really late in the game, he did a bullhorn celebration, which caused mayhem, and it was the controversy from it to antagonize Torino was, and after the game, it kicked off massively. It probably wasn't the wisest thing to do in the circumstances, but that was a very iconic moment because the complete trolling of Torino with that goal.
Oh man, I remember that too. And then free kicks. So Pirlo had scored a beautiful free kick in a Derby Della Molle, crossbar down, absolutely planting the keeper. Paul Pogba in the 15-16 season had a beautiful free kick against Torino. And I believe it was the same match where he set up Morata, who scored a nice goal in that same Derby. But then
Ronaldo.
I was just going to say Ronaldo. Ronaldo scored one of his free kicks for Juve because he scored 2 for Juve now.
One.
I think only one 2 free kicks.
Out of about.
I think Ramsey stole one from him. It was against Inter, I believe, or in the Champions League.
That was in the Champions League when.
Ramsey stole it.
Maybe that's CR's only goal. I think he's got 2, but anyways, I remember that. Yeah, against Torino, he scored that one as well. So it'd be interesting to see if we can get. Hopefully, we can get a memorable victory in this one and see a memorable goal or whatnot. And AJ's making a bit of a crack at Jonathan's incredible knowledge and memory in terms of this. I remember watching the tour. I don't think
my age now, aren't you? Oh my god, being trolled here. No, just iconic memories. Memories.
real quick before we wrap up with our predictions, and we'll get to the guest predictions. And if you haven't got yours in, make sure you get it in now. But there's a banner that's been put in front of the stadium, and it reads, "All you care about is social media, sponsors, and millions. Think about the Derby. Show your balls." Powerful stuff. Coming from Juve's own supporters out there. And this is, this kind of stuff happens all the time, in the sport is so intense. Juve fans are intense, but a banner like this, again, I really it's not surprising by any means. And I think, again, my eyes, as I've said for a month now, throughout this whole thing, this whole whirlwind of a season and how things are going, my eyes are solely on Agnelli, and if anyone were to read this banner or whatnot, it should be him and reshape things and get the focus back in line. And like we've said, when you lay out a plan or a vision and nobody really understands or sees what it is, you got to start. It starts from the top down, Any thoughts on this banner before we give our predictions?
Well, they're not wrong. And the banner is not at all at lost grasp with reality. And no, it's like music. When you're an artist, you have to please the crowd, and without the crowd, you are nothing. And without the crowd, there is no money, and there is no sponsorship deals, and there is no career, and no nothing. You want to please the fans, win games. Then the other things will come with time, the money and the fame and everything you want. But you have a job to do. You get paid a lot of money to do it, and that job is to please the fans above all. Because the club is nothing without the fans, and the players are nothing without the fans.
Yeah.
So I get where they're coming from. Might not have been the way I would have done it, but I still get what they're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Jonathan, your thoughts on this banner?
It's a very Italian thing to do, but they're right. It's time to sort of stand up and be counted now. Is the top four place in danger? There's only one way they can sort this out, and that's by going out on the field today, beating Torino. And at the end of the day, we talk what we like about tactics, we talk what we like about who should be playing. At the end of the day, whatever the brutal truth is, whatever team Juventus put onto that field today should be enough to beat Torino. And it's all about the results today, and hopefully it will be a good one.
Absolutely right. It's all about the result. And predictions, Raf, 1-1. AJ being AJ, 2-1 for Torino. Anthony, 1-0 Juve, 87th minute goal from Chiesa. Dragon saying 2-1 for Juve. And now we get to our predictions. Jonathan, your prediction.
Well, I'm actually feeling quite positive today. I am going to say 3-1 for Juventus. I think they'll come out and perform today. Although Torino, you look at they're no mugs though. They came from 2-0 down to beat Sassuolo 3-2. They scored 3 times in the last 15 minutes. They gave Inter a big scare a few weeks back. They're no mugs, but I just think Juventus need to go out there and make a statement after all the negative publicity after the Benevento game, all of it in the international break because of the McKennie, Dybala, and I think they'll go out and they'll put a performance out, and I think they'll win well today.
Nice. Omer, your prediction.
I tell you what I want to happen, and not what I think is going to happen. That's why I don't bet on Juve. I used to bet on Juve a lot in the banter era, and the minute I stop, they start winning this cycle of trophies. So I'm not good with predictions because I can't bet against Juve. So I think the team needs a big win, and hopefully they'll provide it, like a 4-0 win. And what I think is going to happen is might be a draw, maybe a 2-1 with a last minute goal like we used to.
Yeah, there you go. What I want and what I think are going to happen are two completely different things, because I want to see them come out and absolutely punch Torino right in the mouth and get going right out of the hop. I think it's going to be a tough one. I think it's going to be a grind. I think it's going to be 2-1 for Juventus is how it will finish. I think we will get the 3 points ultimately, which is all I really want at this moment in time. But I would love a positive, strong performance. But I think it will be tough. Again, factoring in international break and whatnot and everything just surrounding them, I think it'll be a little bit tough. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Juve comes out right out of the gate hard and is thoroughly convincing in this one. But I think a 2-1. And honestly, however we get it, I don't really care. Just need the 3 points. Absolutely need the 3 points. Ultimately, if we can get a memorable goal or multiple goals and add it to the fantastic memories we just spoke about in this Derby Della Molle, then fantastic. But it's ultimately about the win. But we're all thinking they will get the job done, which is the main thing. And now, let's see what the lads can do. Bob coming in saying, enjoying your shows for a long time. Just saying thanks from Western Massachusetts. Going to be drama from here to the end of the season for sure. Here we go. First of all, thank you for the kind words. Thank you for the support, Bob. It's amazing. I thank everybody for all the support. Thank you, everybody who joins live. Thank you to everyone and anyone who's joined and been a guest. Because honestly, it's all you guys that make the show what it is. So thank you. And again, if you want to be a guest, this pod is open to any and all Juventini. We have a rotating cast, but by all means, you're more than welcome to join if you want to come on and chat Juve at any moment in time. So thanks again, Bob, for the kind words. Thanks again to Omer. Thanks to Jonathan. Always a pleasure having him on. And the amount of memories he's able to pull up is fantastic. Definitely check out his book. I'm in the middle of it. Golazzo, Football Italia Years. Great work, Jonathan. And any closing thoughts? Is there anything you've got currently on the go that maybe we can look forward to, Jonathan?
Not just yet. It's a work in progress. So I'm got a few ideas for another one, but at the moment, sort of trying to give it as much publicity as I can. Been on the radio a couple of times, so just trying to send the message out there.
There you go. And no, it's always a blast having you on, Jonathan. It's great. Omer, always a pleasure, my man. And Anthony,
thank you.
Anthony coming in. Get your striped hearts orders in. Absolutely. Again, just supports the podcast. The proceeds that go to charity from every order as well. I have a rotating carousel of charities that donations go to. The support's been tremendous. We, of course, just dropped some Azzurri themed shirts and hoodies and whatnot. And there are some limited edition Azzurri stickers that will be out with those orders. And there'll be some first drop stuff coming out too for any of those orders. So little gifts, just a way of saying thank you. Here's one of those limited edition stickers that'll be coming out. So it's pretty cool stuff. Very, very cool stuff. And definitely check out the lineup, show it some love. Subscribe to the pod, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's all good. Everybody, again, happy Easter, Buona Pasqua. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the match today. Be back with a post-match pod tomorrow morning at 5, and hopefully we can celebrate a victory. Forza Juve. fino alla fine. Ciao.